Hi, this is Angel Jones. I love great conversations where life's journey is communicated not only through words, but tones and emotions. Explosive expressions that allow you to feel what they felt and learned. A fool learns only from his own mistake, while the wise learn from their own and from those others have made. Thanks for being here with us. Walt and Egypt Charles are a married couple with 2 kids speaking on parenting, culture, politics, and the ups and downs of being a middle-class black family in a predominantly white suburban neighborhood. This is featured on their weekly podcast, The Black Neighbors. Listen in. Good morning, Walt and Egypt. How are you guys this morning?
Fine.
Hey.
It's so awesome to have you guys on. Today we have with us Walt and Egypt of the Black Neighbors podcast. And,
Yes, sir.
and it's going to be fun because it's the first time that we're interviewing 2 people. As much as 2 become 1, they are 1 technically, but it's 2 of them in a room. So this is going to be fun, folks. So hold on to your seats. Here we go. So guys and gals, which of your talents do you believe is responsible for us meeting?
The biggest talent, I think, is because I talk to everyone and I haven't met a person that, hasn't been a friend in my head. But part of it is that we connected through me listening to a friend on your podcast and your friend knowing our podcast. So we're very excited to be on.
And next we have with us Egypt.
Hi.
So tell me, which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
That's a really good question. So I think this podcast between Walt and I was born out of us wanting to do something together as a couple. And in that, it's been about 4 or 5 months now, we've sort of learned who does which task well. So it's usually my responsibility to find the topics, Walt's responsibility to do the technical stuff. And lately, he sort of moved into the social media aspect of our podcast, the marketing, advertising, making connections. So I think us speaking with you today is the direct result of him sort of stepping up those networking efforts that are really important to, pushing our podcast forward.
Wonderful. So then, Walt, let's come back to you and ask, who did you learn this skill or ability from in terms of communicating and having so many friends in your head?
So I think part of it comes from my dad and part of it comes from my mom. They have been instrumental in making me perform ever since I was probably 5 years old. And so performance has always been part of my life and part of my brothers and sisters. So we spent a lot of time coming up through music school, Pan Piper's music school in St. Augustine. And we also did, I think I did Ricky Ticky.
Under 12, yeah.
Under 12,
12
yeah.
and under.
And then is that with Miss Hazel, I think it was?
Yes, it was. Auntie
Yes.
Hazel.
Auntie Hazel, right. And then I also actually worked on as a producer for a group that sang on Party Time, which was early 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been in kind of music and production, since I was young. And so now I think this is an extension of that, us kind of doing something creative while still, kind of keeping our day jobs, I guess. But
in terms of your willingness, and we are totally in alignment with what you said in terms of him wanting to match this up and, to promote it via social and you being willing to support him along that line. Who did you learn that skill from?
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say that I learned that skill from anyone. But I will say that it's obvious that this current hobby, podcasting, is really important to him. And it's something that we get to do together. And I do try to make an effort to be as supportive as possible. To be fair, though, I was taking an amazing nap
Oh,
just before we
Lord.
recorded, and someone woke me up, and I was a little cranky.
Yeah.
So I did have to submit to his authority in that, and
Really? Is that where you're going?
sit down in front of the microphone. But it is something that we can do together.
Yes.
And I don't know how many married couples have hobbies. I think a lot of times our kids and our, maintaining the home responsibilities substitute. And I'm not talking about like a date night, but something that we actually do together.
Yeah.
And so it definitely ticks off those boxes for us. So I don't know that I'd learned that from anyone, but it does seem to be working for us right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So why will you continue to repeat the skill, Walt, of, really reaching out there, communicating the way you do communicate?
I think part of it is we moved to Atlanta about 4 years ago, and this helps me to reach out to more people virtually and meet more people virtually. So now I've created a ton of friends in my head, fellow podcasters who I'll probably never meet in real life, people who listen to the show, who give feedback. It's easy in a social world to be able to get responses quickly, to be able to respond to people, to have conversations. And this is just an outcome of that. So as long as I keep meeting people through this, I don't know if I'll ever stop doing it.
Yeah. So we go next straight into what is one thing you've done consistently over the past 3 years?
The only thing that has been constant, I think, housework and the children.
And what about you, Walt?
Yeah, I think the answer is consistent, right? We have consistently tried to reach out to new people, make new friends, join new communities. I don't know if we've always done a good job at it, but we've consistently tried. And so I think that's what's brought us here. Over the past 3 years, we've consistently been reaching out. And, now we have a podcast where we can reach more people.
How does that make you guys feel?
That question actually has a lot of layers to it, because moving to another area was awesome. I love where we live. I love the part of the country we're in now. But it didn't really hit us until we had been here for a few months, how hard it is.
So when you say been here, what here are you talking about?
Oh, that's true. I'm referring to moving to Atlanta, not Amsterdam.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you guys, just to clarify that, you guys are in Amsterdam now, but just temporarily, but you guys live in Georgia, and you originally lived where?
New Jersey.
Wonderful. So we're all up to speed now.
well, wait, we forgot I can't go through any podcast without saying that I spent my first 18 years in Trinidad.
Trinbago! Wonderful.
I think it's one of those things where you have something in your life, but you don't realize you have it. You don't realize how much you need it until it's taken away. And so for us, we had a great support system in New Jersey. And it wasn't until we relocated to Atlanta, which, just to put it in perspective for your listeners, it's a 14-hour drive from where we used to live.
Yeah.
Until we moved and we're in a new place. And yes, I had my mother with me and I had my husband and my kids, but that was it. We had to find new churches, make new friends. Just that whole process can be overwhelming. And it can be frustrating, and it takes a lot of commitment just to that process. It's been a year now. We're trying to find a new church, and we've probably been to about 12 different churches in the last year.
We have, yeah.
Wow.
And just trying to connect to organizations and not having to spend money to connect to organizations, and, going out on couples dates, and some of them working and then some of them being
not
horrible.
working, right?
And, it almost feels like we're single and dating, but we're married and we have kids.
How does it make you feel? You guys spoke about what you did consistently. And
so, yeah, I think moving, meeting new people has always been part of my life. As I got more mature, I realized that that's an integral part of my personality. So for me, it may be different from other people. Other people may not post as frequently on social media. Other people may not reach out to strangers or talk to people in an elevator, or talk to policemen or talk to neighborhood dogs. But the whole point is that, like, I am a friendly person, and I had to own that. And I think I learned that when we moved here, more than I would have when we always had people around. So for me, I've made friends of neighbors. I've made friends of people I work with. So now, my community has expanded. So I have church friends, I have work friends, I have neighborhood friends. And we moved around a little bit when we were in Atlanta. And now we have friends in different places in Atlanta as well. So to me, it's worked out really well, even though I still think I'm dragging Egypt with me, but it's worked out really well.
Egypt, what do you think about that dragging statement?
Well, to really appreciate what he means by that, you kind of have to put it into perspective a little bit. When we moved to Atlanta, we had just had a baby. She was literally 2 weeks old.
Right.
We had a 3-year-old son as well. I stayed home for a year. Then I went back to work as a school teacher, which is already a very demanding job. But then I had a commute that was about an hour and 20 minutes one way. So my days were just filled with working and commuting and then getting home and trying to do something akin to housework and being a wife and a mother. So 2 years of that, it was really exhausting. And this last year, where I've decided to not work and be home with the kids full time, I think we're actually starting to enjoy, where we are and enjoy making connections. So I think when he talks about dragging, I think he's probably speaking to how, it's been 4 years since we've really done a lot of social things, but, I had a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, which is fair. Walt, is that good by you?
For me, that meant if I'm going to have to drag Egypt to things, and I use the drag lightly as well, but if I'm going to have to try to get Egypt to do things like be more social or do something, if I put 10 things out there and she chooses one, and I know my ratio is 1 of 10, then I'm going to do 100 so I could get 10.
Yeah, you've heard it here, amazing audience. This is marital advice for life. So guys, let's say I'd like for you both to step into my time machine. And I'd like to ask, what is your earliest childhood memory? Let's start with Egypt.
So my earliest childhood memory, I was probably about 3 years old, maybe. I remember waking up in the morning, lying in my bed. I remember taking a button off of my PJs. I remember swallowing said button.
Okay.
And then regurgitating that button into my hand.
Wow.
And sort of repeating that process multiple times. That's literally my earliest memory.
Wow. Walt, could you beat that?
I don't think anyone could beat that outside of like death. I had my experiences, and it's really one of like 3 memories I have of being a kid. So I don't really remember a lot being a kid, but I remember my dad coming back from Miami once on a business trip or something like that. And he brought these radio controlled 4x4 trucks. And the day that he brought it, we opened the package, set them up, put the batteries in and everything, and just drove the trucks completely off of the first floor and crashed them, destroyed them down on the ground floor. And that's my earliest memory, and it's still a very fond memory for me.
How old do you think you were, Walt?
I'm going to guess too young to operate
Well, that could
operate a radio control
8 or 9.
So no, I was a mature 8 or 9. So we're looking at probably 6, maybe, like around my son's age.
Okay, Egypt. Did you say how old you were?
I think I was around 3 years old. Only because I wasn't in a crib. I remember being in my big girl bed, and I got that around age 3. So,
why do you think this memory is so clear?
You know what? I don't know why it's so clear. I will say,
near death.
Well, it stands out, I think, for me because my mother had a lot of photo albums of my brother and I when we were kids. And so sometimes what I think is a memory is actually me just remembering a picture that I saw of myself at that age. And this is a memory that I know was not in a photograph. I actually remember having this experience. So I think that's probably why it stands out.
And Walt, other than the crashing sound of the 4x4, why do you think this memory is so clear?
I don't know. I think I have so few memories from when I'm young that like I remember that. I remember right when Dad bought us bicycles. Why is it always Dad buying me stuff?
That's another
Interesting.
show.
So now we have declaration. It's yes, no, or a bit more, right? Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to, Walt?
Answer to that is yes. I've chosen several people. I have several mentees. I don't know if they know they're mentees, but I love to give unsolicited advice. So I have several mentees.
And Egypt.
So yes, if we're coming from the perspective that the skills that we're referring to, how to be an amazing wife and mother.
Agreed.
Yeah, then I've already started passing along a lot of chores and responsibilities to my kids. I had a lot of responsibility as a child. I think it did wonderful things for me as an adult.
Number on her. It did a number on her.
And so, well, just to even clarify, both of my parents worked, and I was cooking dinner probably from the age of 10 or 11.
Right.
And just how that teaches you how to plan, how to manage. There was a time when I started buying groceries for the family. There's just so many, work-related skills you can pull out of that one experience. And so I love sort of exposing my kids to new chores because I do think it will help them, when they become adults.
Wonderful. You guys said that you are married and that you have 2 children. Did you say their ages?
So Ethan just turned 7. And Emily will be 4 in July.
And the big question, even though you guys spoke of church, I still ask because it's declaration. Do you believe in God?
Yes, I believe in God.
What?
God the Father, God the Son, the Holy Spirit. Yes.
So bottom line is yes, I believe in God. The rest of that might be a little bit more complicated, but I do believe in God.
Wonderful. Your favorite song, Walt, when you were 12 years old?
My favorite song, I'm not sure if I was 12, somewhere around there would have been, when I was 12, would have been Marshall Montana's Too Young to Sing. I remember that because he was around my age and he was kind of doing his thing. And, for most of us at that age, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but for me at that age, I wanted to be a performer.
Understood.
And so seeing someone perform young and being from Trinidad just not only filled you with pride and all of those associated feelings, but it also made you, it kind of forced me and pushed me to want to do things myself.
Understood. Egypt, you're up.
So when I was 12, I was very much into heavy metal, and I was into Christian heavy metal. And there was a band called Petra, and they had an album called The Rocks Cry Out. And one of the songs on the album was Take Me In, one of my most favorite songs at that time. Like I hear it now and it takes me back.
No, we should pause for the tumbleweed.
It would be crickets, not tumbleweed. I remember that. That was my group back then.
It is great. It's going to be interesting putting in the 2 songs there, Marshall and then Petra, but it'll be interesting. So tell me, do you guys have an inner circle of friends?
Yeah, we do.
We as a couple? Do we have an inner circle of couples friends?
I think it would apply both ways.
So I think if we were living in New Jersey right now, we'd have an inner circle of couples friends, absolutely. Here we have a smaller inner circle of couples friends.
Much smaller.
Yeah, but we do have an inner circle.
So tell us, do you guys watch TV for 3 hours a day or 3 hours a week?
We're definitely 3 hours a day people.
Okay.
If you count Twitter and Facebook and stuff, then yes, 3 hours a day.
Screen time, yeah.
Screen time. The new screen time buzzword.
Yeah. I think, though, this is more aligned to like cable or just TV binging. Would you put that as 3 hours a day or 3 hours a week?
I still stick to the 3 hours. I suffer from insomnia like 4 nights out of 7.
Okay.
So a lot of times TV is the only thing that calms my brain down and gets me to sleep. And that could be 3 hours. That could be 4 hours. It really depends on the night. So.
Understood.
Yeah. Remember when I said I'm like learning how to love her, like TV on at 1 o'clock in the morning with a show that I don't want to watch? It's like, I'm learning. I look over at her watching TV and I say to myself, I love this woman.
Wow, good man. Good man. So, folks, it's been a super pleasure. I'd like to know in closing if there's anything you both would like to share with our amazing audience.
So the only thing I want to share is if people could go visit theblackneighbors.com and take a listen at our latest episode or one of the episodes that might interest them. It's not for everyone, but I think if you try it out, you may like it. So all we ask is that you just go take a listen.
Wonderful. Egypt, is there anything you'd like to say?
Aside from like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, no, this has been great. Thank you so much for having us on your show.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Hi, Angel here. I have had the opportunity to speak with some amazing individuals. A lot of these individuals connected with me and I connected with them because of a path that I chose, and that was the path of becoming financially free. I became debt-free, and now if you require my assistance to become debt-free and then build wealth, check me out or email me at hope@angeljones.com. That is hope@angeljones.com.
Segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.